Was the Eagles' win over the Colts lucky or good?
Lucky. They were lucky. That is a hobbled Andrew Luck. Clearly, he's not right, or Jacoby Brissett wouldn't be in there to try and throw a Hail Mary.
Yeah.
But beyond that, think they were driving. They were in the red zone. He gets sacked, yes, but it was the kind of sack where he just couldn't quite get his footing. If he just gets his footing on that play, maybe the Colts win it right there. But that wouldn't be enough to then call it lucky. This is how they got lucky again. Luck got the ball back. I mean, that should have been the end of the game. He got the ball back and still wasn't right, so he really couldn't throw the ball down the field, and it came down to Jacoby Brissett overthrowing, really, a Hail Mary, which would have been a 50-50 ball, meaning they have a 50% chance to win the game. That is the Eagles getting lucky. Luck lost his footing. Luck's shoulder isn't right. That is a lucky win for the Eagles.
You could say it like that, but I don't view it that way. And the reason why I don't view it that way is because the Eagles strike me as the kind of team that steps up and does what it needs to do when it needs to do it. If Andrew Luck had passed for over 300 yards, I think you would have seen the Eagles do a little bit more. The fact is they didn't have to. And when you look at Andrew Luck, we've gotten to the point where obviously his health is legit. Nobody is trying to question that in any way. But the flip side to it is that the Indianapolis Colts have had their troubles. Years ago, when Andrew Luck wasn't hurt, he was on suicide watch because the offensive line wouldn't protect him, for crying out loud. So we had that to deal with. They didn't have a running game for years. You had that to deal with, okay? Their defense was so-so on too many occasions. You had that to deal with. So I don't want to hear anything about luck when it comes to the Indianapolis Colts. The fact of the matter is that when you talk about luck, you're talking about Andrew Luck. That's about it. Outside of that, the Indianapolis Colts are what they are. They need to get better. They're working towards that. I'm pleased with the changes that they have made. They're not quite there yet, and Andrew Luck still's got his bearings to get under him and what have you because he missed the whole last season, and he's really trying to get back into the groove of things now. But when you look at the Philadelphia Eagles, they're true to form. They do what they need to do. Carson Wentz will throw a touchdown pass. They'll facilitate a running game when they need to. They'll make key plays on third down situations, whether it's to Aguilar, and when Alshon Jeffrey come back, they'll do that. Zach Ertz is there. They'll do that. Defensively, they can do what they need to do with Fletcher Cox, Brandon Graham, and those boys. These guys, the Colts, had 5 sacks against the Eagles and still lost. You got to look at it from that perspective as well. The Indianapolis coach just ain't that great. It ain't about luck. It's about the fact that they're not that good.
Well, listen, and you look at that game yesterday. Remember, that was Carson Wentz's first game back.
That's right.
That was his first game back coming off of ACL. So even with his being first game back, he still was pretty efficient playing in the game. Now, granted, the Philadelphia defense got after the Indianapolis Colts defense got after Carson Wentz, but you gotta understand, as the season goes on and he becomes more trusting in his knee and becomes healthier, we're going to see the Carson Wentz that we saw last year, who was probably the league MVP before his injury. So, like Stephen A. said in this particular situation, the Philadelphia Eagles, the sign of a really good team is doing the necessary plays you got to do in order to win football games.
Agreed.
And then listen.
And don't forget that backfield's real banged up.
Listen,
Eagles.
listen. Yesterday's game, they're playing in inclement weather.
Yeah.
You know things are going to be
But
sloppy.
Damian, I'm not
Hold on. They're playing in that type of weather. We don't know how Carson Wentz's knee was going to react to a surface that's wet, so they depended on the running game to really ease their quarterback back into this whole thing. One thing I will say on the flip side, Indianapolis, to me, the number one play in that whole game was a Hail Mary. When they took out Andrew Luck. We could talk about that whole game, but that one play just told me everything that I need to know
Andrew Luck.
about Andrew Luck.
Why?
Why? Because to me, if you can't throw the ball, the one thing we saw from the Indianapolis Colts in the preseason was that he wasn't challenging defenses down the field. The fact that you had to take him out in the Hail Mary situation and put in Jacoby Brissett.
Who overthrew it.
If I'm an opposing coach moving forward, I'm literally crowding the short and intermediate game, knowing that I need you to beat me. I need you to beat me down the field.
That's why
I need you to beat me down the field.
I needed to hear that from a football guy. I wanted to know what a football guy felt about him being taken out.
The big news from yesterday's game is Andrew Luck's shoulder. Of course, because he can't throw it down the field. Obviously, that's my point.
Well, wait a minute.
I'm not saying
was that obvious before the game?
No, obviously the big news is that they brought in the backup quarterback to throw a Hail Mary, not your franchise quarterback. That means he's not right. I mean, even the chunks that they were getting to put Brissett in that position maybe weren't the chunks they would have been getting if Andrew Luck was right until that point. My point is this. Of course, Indy's not that good. And I understand luck is the residue of design. Branch Rickey broke the color line with Jackie Robinson, great baseball man, said luck is the residue of design. I'm not saying the Eagles aren't good to be lucky, right? Like, they got a little lucky against the Falcons. They got a little lucky against Indy. That's because they're good. I get that. But they did get a little lucky against the Falcons. And they did get a little lucky
How can you say that
yesterday.
when they have no Darren Sproles, no Jay Ajayi, no Alshon Jeffrey?
Wait, you guys are saying they got unlucky to be banged up. We understand that.
Yeah.
I'm saying to actually come out of those games with wins. They got a little lucky. If Andrew Luck regains his footing, maybe Indianapolis wins.
But to me, you're not respecting the Super Bowl champions enough, and here's why. They didn't just steamroll through people en route to a Super Bowl championship. They won the games they had to win in different fashions depending on the opponent. If I saw an Eagles team that steamrolled over everybody but then show up the way that they did yesterday, I get it. But there were plenty of times last year we saw them get out of a victory by a nose. We saw them blow out people. We saw them winning through the pass one week, winning through the run another, winning through their defense another. This team has shown a history of doing
They got an excellent coach. They got an excellent quarterback.
Whatever it takes is what I'm saying.
Okay, and this is what I'm saying.
That's
I
not
believe
luck.
the Eagles will make the playoffs. I believe that, okay? I believe they will get better as the season goes on. They're just banged up right now. But early in the season, you were looking at a couple games and wondering, Indy wasn't one of them, by the way, especially the Falcons. They're going to win that game? They did. Yesterday, it was, can they get out of here with a win? They did. My point is, they've been a little lucky to have the record they now have, given how banged up they are. Those games could have gone their way.
How is that luck? The mark of a great team is finding different ways to win football games.
Sure.
The fact that, you bring up Andrew Luck and his injury, that has nothing to do with the Philadelphia Eagles and them finding a different way.